Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Asteroid Fire for the Atari 2600. In this 1983 shoot-'em-up from Home Vision, you fire at asteroids. I mean, this is an Atari game after all. What else would you expect? The goal of Asteroid Fire is incredibly simple. Roam around the endless void of space, blasting asteroids and satellite ships to score as many points as possible before losing all 3 lives. And there are a few different ways to lose said lives. The most straightforward would be colliding with enemies and their projectiles, but the less evident threat is from incoming motherships. A small radar at the bottom of the screen indicates hazards beyond your immediate view of the playfield, and occasionally an alarm will sound as the radar turns red. This means a mothership is approaching, and you'll see it as a red dot inching in from the border of the radar view. Now, when that happens, you've got to skedaddle in the opposite direction, because if the mothership gets too close to you at the center of the radar, you immediately lose a life as this overly dramatic UFO encounter cutscene plays out, mocking you for your lack of evasive skill. But you can't be blamed too hard for that, because the navigational control scheme of this game is really where the difficulty lies. See, unlike most roaming shooters where you just move and fire dynamically based on where you direct the joystick, Asteroid Fire makes things a bit more complicated. Holding down the action button fires your blaster like normal, but it also locks your ship into whatever direction you're currently moving. That means you can fire in any of the 4 cardinal directions without deviating from your flight path, but it also means you've got to face the dangers of ceasing fire whenever you need to reroute in the event of, incoming motherships of doom. And then there's the speed component on top of that. The longer you lay off the fire button while pushing the joystick forward, the faster you'll fly in that direction, indicated by the color-changing speed bar at the lower right of the display. And you basically want to stay somewhere in the orange zone at all times, because if you fly too slow, the motherships will get you, and if you fly too fast, you'll run into asteroids. Luckily, all the space hazards here populate neatly in an implied grid, so as long as you're firing forward and flying at a comfortable speed, you'll take out any asteroids or satellites directly ahead of you without fear of colliding into any slightly offset ones, which can be exploited as a pretty airtight strategy for slowly but safely racking up points by just constantly gunning straight to the left or right. And if you stay at medium speed, the angle of satellite projectiles will miss you 99% of the time, just like magic, outer space magic. You just have to make sure you turn around whenever a mothership shows up on the radar, and occasionally rein back on your speed, since it still gradually increases the longer you fly in a single direction, which can lead to some collisions here and there, but luckily you can recoup your losses by earning an extra life for every 10,000 points scored, just like magic, outer space magic. Now, playing like this might suck the fun out of a roaming shooter for some people, but I personally get a kick out of figuring out strategies to exploit a game. And here, I cheesed my way to a 100k score with this method. Problem is, that meant flying back and forth uninterrupted for nearly an hour till my brain, my wrists, and my butt all went numb. But it was worth it. The graphics in Asteroid Fire are pretty utilitarian, but not in a bad way. Admittedly, your own starship isn't much more than a pixelated pink triangle, but the explosion animations and satellites are pretty neat, as is the gratuitous UFO mothership arrival cutscene, complete with its menacing, ear-splitting 8-bit audio scale. That being said, I do appreciate the game's use of sound for radar alarms, and the engine hum that pitches up and down depending on how fast you're flying. The most novel aspect of this game is definitely the impending threat of the mothership, as an enemy you, can't actually fight. Super unusual for a shoot-'em-up, and I like that it adds a survival escape dynamic to the standard roaming shooter formula. Now, if I could change one thing here, I'd tweak the flight mechanics to allow for said survival escape, because simply turning your ship in a different direction here is way more clunky than it ought to be. Overall, Asteroid Fire really forges its own unique path in the sea of 2600 space shooters, using a radar to escape enemies rather than hunt them, employing unconventional strafing mechanics to a starship, and arguably being filled with 8-bit magic, outer space magic.